also ran for president. In '68, he loses to Richard Nixon, but Nixon actually learns something from this and implements what's called the Southern Strategy. And Bush and Reagan want to use the same strategy, which is basically manipulate people's racial and economic fears and bring them over into your party. This was taking place as after Johnson gave African Americans the right to vote in '65, and so all these Southern Democrats, were getting swooped up by the Republican Party.
I mean, there was no mere coincidence that Reagan kicked off his general election campaign in Shelby County, the very place where the 3 civil rights workers were killed 16 years earlier in '64. Reagan said he believed in state rights. When people called him on it, he said, well, that's not racist, but everyone knew what the hell he was talking about. Lee Atwater, who was the former chairman of the Republican National Committee and who served on Reagan's staff, confirmed this Southern strategy in 1981. And he said, and I quote, you can't run around saying nigger, nigger, nigger anymore, right? You have to say things like state rights and cut taxes, which meant your tax dollars won't be wasted on minorities, right? Now, Bush 1 exemplified this strategy with his famous Willie Horton Act, which basically implied that if Dukakis won, that he would allow he would release black prisoners and they would go on and rape your white women. Now, Bush was down 17 points before that ad was released. He won by 8.
And nothing essentially has changed in that system. It just hasn't. And we can applaud that a black person got elected. But we need to look at that. A lot of folks think that was a big mistake. Not because he was a liberal, but because he was black. But if you look at our educational system and all that stuff, nobody's going to go anywhere. And to declare that it's that way because that's just how things are, means you're not going to face the issue of, well, why is it people of color that are there? Why is that? Why is that? Now, I will tell you that one of the things that ought to happen in this country is that poor white people and black people ought to get together. But they have constructed over the years ways to keep that from happening. And the way to keep that from happening is to say, whoops, they're taking your White House, they're taking your jobs, they're doing this. So you're constantly fighting the person who's your natural ally. Because believe me, they're clear on who their allies. They go to the same colleges, the same clubs, and then they kind of split up later on. I'm going to go south, you go to north. But the one thing we'll agree on is that they cannot take power in this country. So how do we do that? We keep them voting, we don't educate them, they can't get the jobs. All of that still happens. And that's going to continue to happen until either there's actually a revolution in this country, or there's something that people who claim to be people of good conscience actually get pissed off.
So the political legacy of all this is actually very striking. You have Wallace in '68 stretching all the way out to basically what Trump was doing in 2016, right? You see someone like Strom Thurmond, who was one of the signers of the Southern Manifesto in '56 and who ran for president in 1948 on a segregationist platform. Then in 2001, I think it was, when Trent Lott, the incoming Senate Majority Leader in Mississippi, says that the country would have been better served if Thurmond won. Now, of course, when everyone called him on it, he backpedaled and said he just regretted that the way his words were interpreted. So this is why you have something like Georgia's 2 strikes you're out rule. Michelle Alexander explained it best when she said that it was only invoked against 1% of white defendants facing a second drug conviction, but against 16% of African American defendants. And so what ends up happening is that those serving a life sentence under this provision, 98.4% are African American.
98.4%. Now, if all you knew was the 98.4% and didn't know the why, what else could you possibly assume? I mean, understand, we've been conditioned to see things a certain way, to think a certain way. And that's why when we hear something that contradicts what we think we know, we put up these walls to protect ourselves.